In an ever-growing world, a world that is being modernized every second, we are constantly asking ourselves, what is next? Like, what is the next step? We talk about AI on this channel. That's definitely a step forward in creativity, or maybe helping solve some of the more complicated problems that we have in the world. When it comes to music, AI is also talked about, and what kind of music are we going to see in the future? Are we going to be seeing something different in the future in terms of music? Movies as well. What kind of technologies are going to be, pushing forward the boundaries of filmmaking? And I also think about how we got here to this point. Like, back when, TV used to be analog, it wasn't all just cable. It was literally over the air. And I remember back in the day when they were saying like, hey, listen, analog is going off the air. We're not going to have analog anymore. Forget about it. Just, throw away your old antennas because that's not going to work anymore. Just know that analog is going away. And then what happened? Analog went away, and then we got digital, over-the-air signals, which ultimately just came to replace the analog that we were getting before. But that's a step in the right direction. That's an example of us going in the right direction. So what example would it be for us to be going in the wrong direction? And I feel like that's the perfect topic for today's video, because we're talking about ownership. So you're probably asking, what are you talking about? Ownership? Like owning a car or owning a, some sort of item? No. We're talking about ownership in terms of media, because this has now become a topic of discussion, which I believe shouldn't be even a topic of discussion. But right now, there is like legal proceedings going on over a specific game called The Crew. If you've never heard of The Crew is an open world driving game that, you could drive around, see the world, connect with other players, race other players. It was a really great game in terms of its concept. Great game. Its popularity wasn't all that huge, but ultimately what happened was they decided that they would take the game off the air. And what does that mean? If you happen to have a disc of the game, you ultimately can't play it. So you might be asking yourselves, okay, fine, you took the game off the air. Sure, you probably bought the game digitally. So if they take it off the air, so what, right? Not quite. Because what happened was, if you have a physical disc of The Crew, you can put it in your console, you can't play the game, which makes absolutely no sense. And the problem is that this specific situation is in court, and they are trying to, and by they I mean Ubisoft, which is the, developers of The Crew, they are trying to throw out this specific situation because they say that when you purchase the game, you aren't in fact purchasing the software, you're just purchasing a license to use the software, and that you do not own the game. I'm gonna leave that awkward pause in there because it is really strange to hear that from a company like Ubisoft that creates these fantastic games, fantastic worlds, Assassin's Creed. Oh my goodness, like, dude, that's like their bread and butter. But unfortunately, I have to go 1000% against this. This is absolutely BS, okay? And I'll tell you why. For a game like The Crew, which I can totally understand it not, being a huge hit, because let's be honest, it's not Need for Speed. This is a game that's far from being Need for Speed. It's its own sort of category of game. But ultimately, if you're someone who spent hard-earned money on something, you should be able to own that thing. I'm not talking about a rental. It's not something that you're paying monthly for. I'm talking about one solid price. You go to, I don't know, Walmart, and you buy a pack of something, erasers, Ultimately, when you buy those erasers, you're going to use those erasers. Walmart isn't going to be coming to your door and saying, hey, sorry, you don't own these erasers. We want our erasers back. They're not going to do that because you paid for that one item. Now, I'm using erasers as like a weird example, but let's expand this a little bit more, okay? Instead of erasers, now you've purchased a DVD to a movie, and it's Blu-ray. And you decided to take your Blu-ray, put it into your player, and watch a movie. But oh wait, this owner, the owner of this copyrighted content, said that they are the sole owners of this, and you can no longer watch your DVDs on your Blu-ray player because that DVD is just a license to watch the movie and that you do not own this movie. Think about that for a second. That is just absolutely absurd and total BS. It's not like if you're going to the movie theater and you paid for a ticket and then something happens where they cancel the movie because they were going down for refurbishment or something. So they cancel the ticket and they don't reimburse you. That's not the case. That's not the case we're talking about here. We're talking about you having a physical copy of something and not being able to play it because the company deems it just a license. Well, I have bad news for Ubisoft. And I feel like this lawsuit is just going to get not only Ubisoft, but any other company who decides to pull this BS move in big trouble. It's going to put them in huge amounts of trouble. And the reason why it will is very simple. Because consumers are not always stupid. I want you to think about that. Consumers are not always stupid. Meaning, you can, BS your way through this situation and say like, oh, they just fell for the fact that this is just a license and not an official game. Well, I'll tell you this. If you think that doing this is going to help your industry, know that there are things on the internet that exist, which means maybe the person doesn't want to buy the game from you anymore. Maybe these people don't want to even buy a game anymore because they're afraid that if they buy the game, they will not legally own the game. So they will take the wrong route. And by the wrong route, I mean they are going to be more than willing to pirate this game off the internet. They're going to be more than willing to say, I don't want to invest in your company if you're going to cheat me out of my games. I'm not willing to invest in this project that you poured millions of dollars into because ultimately, I'm not going to own this. Ultimately, you're going to pull the rug right from under me and say, these people don't need this game anymore. They're not even playing this game. I mean, we have like maybe 400 people or 300 people playing this game. We can just take it off the air. That's not going to work. And all this is going to do is encourage more pirating. It's going to encourage more downloads from other websites for no freaking reason. Maybe if you're a little bit more open with your intentions, specifically if you're a company as big as Ubisoft, which I absolutely, mind you, I'm criticizing them in a big way right now. But I still love what they've made. All the things, all the games that they've made, mainly Assassin's Creed, which I absolutely love. But unfortunately, this is absolutely wrong. And consumers will speak with their wallets. And trust me, when you defy the trust of your consumers, of your base fans, people are going to speak with their pockets and speak with their wallets. Okay? Just remember that. And it can't be understated that if this is happening to games, it could easily happen to movies, to music, to works of literature. I mean, I'm telling you, if you think that this is just a tiny case, the repercussions are gonna, make waves down the line, That's the thing. Ownership over your things. If I buy something physical, it should work. And that leads me into my next point, and that is this. If any console going forward decides that they're going to be digital only for the rest and remainder of their, future, if Sony says we're going all digital, no more physical copies, if Nintendo says we're only going digital from going on forward, we're only going digital for Xbox, I would like to inform all of you who are watching and the people going into the future, I'm personally and vocally saying this. I will not buy your console. I will not buy your console. I want you to understand that. I want every company to understand. I will not buy your console. Because ultimately, something like this that is happening right now to the crew could easily happen on a digital console. Tomorrow, you could buy a game, and a week from now, it's no longer in your library. And you're going to be asking yourself, what happened? They took your money and stepped out. They just hopped off. Took your money and hopped off the train with that piece of content. Now, how would you feel? You would feel pretty robbed, wouldn't you? That is why I'm so against the idea of owning a console that's all digital. That's why I have an Xbox One, not the digital version. That's why I have a PS5, not the digital version. That's why I own consoles that accept a form of physical media. Because ultimately, having that physical disc or cartridge or whatever it is means that I own that object. And if a company is going to say otherwise, then I'll be more than happy to, prove you guys wrong in some way. So that is a very big and dangerous thing that can happen in the world of media. So now I have to extend my hand to you guys and ask you, what do you think? Do you think that this specific case with the crew could ultimately extend out to other parts and mediums and forms of media? And ultimately, what kind of danger are these people in? Are these specific cases in? I would love to hear from you guys. Would love to pick your brains a little bit about this subject, because ultimately it kind of worries me, but I think, the courts are going to be a lot more open and understanding to the consumers and less to this company who is clearly somewhere else right now. So I want to hear from you. I'm just flabbergasted at the situation, and I want to know if you are too. if you think they are in the right or if you think they're in the wrong. Please let me know down in the comments below, and let's have this discussion here. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.
Scrolling through YouTube, same old routine, then bam, movie savant, what a scene. Trivia bombshells dropping knowledge like rain. Forget the dishes, gotta watch it again. Movie buffs unite, savants to place. Subscribe and hit the bell, don't leave a trace. Next level knowledge keeps you in the loop. Savants got the scoop, ain't nothing to recoup.